Hey, hey, hey! What's going on, chickens? So I'm back today, and I'm gonna be doing a bit of a story time. Um, if you're triggered by any kind of abuse, animal abuse, anything like that, this may not be the story time for you because I am going to be getting into the story of my dogs. I have anyone that watches me on Periscope knows that I have two dogs. Um, Angel and Archie, that I've had for, oh my God, probably going on 2 years now. So I'll be getting into that story, introducing them and talking a little bit about them. But first, I wanted to get into my past pets and get into their stories a little bit. My first dog I ever had growing up was named Buster. We lived in Queens. I was probably in, oh my God, kindergarten, first grade. And and we used to hang out on the stoop when we lived in Queens. It's kind of like a porch, but it's concrete and it's small. Like basically the steps you walk into the house or the apartment. And we used to hang out on the stoop, us kids. And across the street, there was this dog walking by. And I was like, oh, like, look at the dog. So I walked over and I like crouched down to see if he had a collar on him. And he saw me. And he started like running towards me, so I got kind of scared. So I ran to the stoop because I was young, and he just came up on the stoop and hung with us. Like, okay. So we were petting him and playing with him, and we put up flyers and posters. My parents were like, we're not keeping this dog. Like we can't. We live in an apartment. We live in Queens. Like we cannot have a dog. So, and he was like a medium-sized dog. So we put up all types of flyers at grocery stores, police stations, called all the pounds to see if like people were looking for him. Put an ad out in the paper. We didn't have like internet back then, so we couldn't even do Facebook or anything like that. But yeah, and nobody ever claimed him. And this dog was so good. Like he knew how to sit, he knew how to beg, he knew how to roll over. Like he knew all his tricks. Very, very good dog. So we're like, this has got to be someone's pet. We had him for almost a year and nobody ever claimed him. We ended up getting him, having to keep him again because we had him up on the front stoop, and we put a collar, we bought him a collar and a leash, and we put him tied him up to the stoop because we weren't allowed to have dogs in our apartment. And our landlord had lived downstairs. He's gonna knock, hold on, my dog's trying to run through here. He's gonna knock my thing over. And we weren't allowed to have them in our apartment. And so my parents tied him up out there thinking we'll keep searching. You don't want him to go and get hit by a car or, anything bad to happen to him, the pound take him, So while we were still searching for his owners, we kept him out there, and he would go nuts. He would just howl and howl and howl and cry all night long. So finally the landlord, and I used to go outside and I fed him bologna. I remember taking cold cuts and going outside and feeding him bologna because I wanted to keep him. I was like, this is my dog now. I was young. So, but my parents did do the right thing. They went and they kept trying to find who this is, put an ad in the paper, again, they took a picture of him and put him on all these flyers and put him all around. And a couple, a while, I think it was a week and a half later, nobody found him. Nobody claimed him. So, probably after the second night of him being on the stoop, my landlord was like, listen, you can either bring him inside or go bring him to the pound because we're not putting up with him howling all night. Well, that's what she said. She said, either you guys bring him inside or we'll bring him to the pound. So my dad was like, I'm not going to let this dog go to the pound. We'll bring him inside, and we'll keep trying to find his owners. So we brought him inside. And I remember the first night we brought him inside, me and my sister, I was like, what should we name him? And my mom was like, don't name him because we're not keeping him. Because, she had enough on her plate with us too. And we had we had hamsters too, so she was like, I don't want another thing to pick up after, basically. But that ended up being like her best friend. She used to say that he was her favorite child because he never talked back. She said he listened and he didn't talk back. So his name was Buster. He was her favorite child, she used to say. So, we had Buster for a really, really long time. We had to actually end up put him down because he got really, really old and sick. And I think I was in freshman year of high school. So I got him, yeah, so he was probably like 10 years old. I was either freshman or sophomore, maybe even junior. I definitely wasn't in senior. So maybe we had him for about 10 or 11 years old or 10 or 11 years, and he was a good 2 or 3 when we found him. So he lived for 12 years basically, pretty much. And he was just such a good dog. He really, really, really was. He was a great, great dog. Um, that was my first dog growing up. And then I lived in apartments and stuff, so I really wasn't allowed to have one. And I went through a really bad breakup. I was with somebody for 5 years. It wasn't a bad breakup. It was difficult. Because we were together for so long. We lived together. And we didn't break up because he was a bad person or anything like that. It was just, I didn't have a future with him. So it was a really hard breakup to leave. So I left that breakup after 5 years, and I was staying with a friend for a couple months, basically in her spare room, on 2 baby mattresses that were pushed, like crib mattresses that were pushed together with just blankets and pillows. Like that's basically what I stayed on for about maybe a little over a month with her and her boyfriend. And then finally I found a job up towards Albany, 2 hours away, and I moved up there. That was about a year ago. So when I moved to Albany, I was like, I want a dog. Like I was used to having a boyfriend. I was used to having a companion. I've never been single for very long. And this was finally the time where I was single. I was living on my own. I wasn't depending on anybody. But I wanted a companion. I wanted somebody that I can come home to every night that was happy to see me, that I could take care of, to keep my mind on, and give me a reason, because I do suffer from depression. So it gave me a reason to get up every morning to take care of her and. So I was on Facebook, and I was looking for a while because I wanted like the right dog, and I wanted, So I was looking on Facebook, and this lady's, her dog had babies, and they were beagle and miniature pinscher mix, very strange mix, and she lived like 2 hours away in like, I don't know, East Bumblefuck, like in the middle of the woods. So my sister one night, I was like, okay, well after work I'm gonna come pick up the dog, and I picked out she sent me the pictures. I picked out which one I wanted, and she was just I have pictures. She was the cutest baby. She was already 8 months old, and she had these big floppy ears and this little like almost like a sad face, but she was just so cute. I loved her so much. So I picked her out, and I said, this is the one I want. It was a girl. And I asked my sister, I said, will you come up with me? And she was giving them away for free. The only thing she had asked, because she did have other dogs, was to bring them a big bag of special dog food. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So I went to the store and I got the biggest bag of dog food. It was like $20-something. And I asked my sister to come with me, and she was like, sure. So we went all the way up there, drove 2 hours at, oh my God, I think we got up there. It was like 2 or 3 hours away. We got up there and it was late. Like I didn't get home till almost to like midnight. We got up there and it started snowing, like blizzarding. We were in like these back roads in the woods, and it was actually really scary because I was like, you know what? This could be like a total like ploy. Like let's get these girls like in the middle of the woods and lure them here with puppies, and I'm thinking this as I'm driving, and I'm starting like to panic. I'm like, Shannon, what if this is like a killer? He's gonna like lure girls in the woods with puppies and like kill them. So I started like freaking out, and she's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, let's just go. I said, we won't get out of the car until we see like who comes out, because then we can just like run away. like reverse the car and leave. So we finally find the house. It took forever because it was in the middle of nowhere. And well, it was in a town, but the town was like in the middle of nowhere. Um, and this lady, so we text her, and this lady comes out, and her two kids, and she has my little puppy in her hands, and she was the most, oh my God, she was the sweetest little thing. She was terrified, like she was shaking, she was so scared. It was cold, so I said thank you so much, and I gave her the bag, and she said okay, well, keep in touch with me on Facebook. I said absolutely, and I took my dog, and my sister brought her dog with her. And I was a little nervous because I was scared the puppy was going to be scared of her dog because her dog is bigger. She has a pit bull. Best dog ever. And other than my dogs, of course. But anyways, so I had the dog in a blanket, and I put her in the back seat, and she was scared. Like, she just sat there, like, you know. So I did hold her for a while. I drove with her on my lap, and I was just holding her, and I wanted her to like get used to my smell, to know who I am, because I knew she was scared, and she smelled like a puppy. Like, she smelled just like a little dog, you know. They have that smell. So I wanted her to get used to me, and she was definitely very, very scared. So I put her in the back seat with Harley, my sister's dog, and she cuddled up right with Harley and was comfortable and like fell asleep. So I was like, all right, fine. Then we went to the gas station. We stopped at the gas station on the way home. My sister took Harley for a walk because it was a 2-hour ride, just to, so they don't get all like cramped up and, she go to the bathroom or whatever. And I took my dog out. I didn't have a name for her yet, and walked her around. But like, just to get her on the leash, she was like jumping from side. Like, I went to one side of the car and she ran to the other side. And then I went to this side of the car and she ran to the other side. So she was like terrified. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I had never owned a dog on my own. The only dog I had, again, was my family dog, Buster. But this was like my responsibility. This is my dog. So I was like, she hates me. I'm like, oh my God, she fucking hates me. So I got her, and then, she just kind of looked at me like, they had used puppy pads. So she was not used to going outside. So I had to train her to do all that. But anyways, after that night, I got her home. As soon as I got her home, I put her in the bathtub because I didn't know what their house was like, because I heard a lot of dogs in there. So I was like, let me just get her, because I wanted her to sleep in my bed. But I didn't want her in my bed, like, because I didn't know where she was coming from. So I was like, let me wash her. And I gave her a bath and basically just went right to bed. And she was fine. She went under the bed and she did not come out. She was terrified. The lady also told me that she may have worms, because I guess some of the puppies had worms. So I was like, okay, like, I didn't know what that was. She said it was from the mother's milk. I don't know. When I ended up, she did have worms. She went to the bathroom, and I looked, and they looked like little maggots, not to gross anybody out, but they literally looked like little maggots in her poop, and they moved, like they were alive. So I started like crying, because I'm like, oh my God, she's sick. So I called the vet, and they were like, we'll bring her right in, and I told him what the lady that gave me the dog said, that it could be from the mother's milk, and they said it's most it comes from them eating fleas. That's what my vet told me, that it comes from them like swallowing fleas, I guess, it's a parasite. So, shh, be quiet over there. Sorry. So, yeah, so they just gave her medicine, and I had to bring another sample of her poop after to make sure that they were all gone and she was healthy. And they did clear up in like a couple days, and she was fine. And then I set up all her shots. Like, she had no shots, no nothing. So I had to set up like her distemper, which is like a puppy shot, rabies, all of that. And me and her started getting really close. I had to train her to do everything. I had to train her to go potty outside. I had to, me and her basically learned together. And it was a really, really good experience. She was my best friend. And she really, really, really taught me. I never thought I could love something like that in my whole life, you know. Oh God, I'm sorry. I didn't want to do this. I uh I always question having children because I was like, you know, I don't think I would be a good mom. I don't know if I could love something so much. You know, like I love my families. I love my boyfriend. I love, I love my friends, but it's, to love a child is a different kind of love, and I never thought I didn't know if I could do that. And then when I had her, she showed me that I can take care of something other than myself. And I think it wasn't even like the loving part. It was being afraid to not know how to take care of something other than me. And she taught me that, you know what, when you love something as much as you love a child, or, you take care of it, it's just instinct. You want them to be happy and you want them to be healthy. So you can do it, And she taught me that, that I have that in me to be nurturing and loving, and I can take care of something other than myself. And she was my world, my best friend. She knew when I was sad and when I was upset, and she would just curl up with me and just love me. She was like the happiest thing in the world when I came home from work. Her butt would be waggling, a mile a minute. Her little, her tail would be going so fast, her whole body shook. She was my best friend. She was my best friend. She had a lot of issues, though. She had extremely bad anxiety. And I ended up finding out why, because I researched everything. Jeez. So, I had her less than a year. Her birthday was August 19th. I ended up naming her Winter, because I just love that name. It was between Winter and Derby. I figured if she was more of like a boy, tough little boy dog, like a tomboy kind of dog, then it was going to be Derby. And if she was going to be like a little princess, her name would be Winter. And she was definitely my little princess, so she got named Winter. And just to see her go from having such anxiety and being so scared of me, my cousin was my roommate at the time, and her dog, just to see her grow was so amazing. It was so amazing to see her overcome everything. She was so comfortable with dogs. She was terrified of humans. Would jump, would shake, would dodge, would move. She was fast, boy. She was like a rocket. She would hide under the couch because she was so scared. But when you put her with any kind of dog, bigger dog, smaller dog, you know what I mean, 100-pound dog, she was fine. Like, she was comfortable. She'd play. She'd run. But just people terrified her. I used to take her. My boyfriend would play football, and I used to take her to the games. And she'd be scared of the people, but I would walk her over to the baseball field where it wasn't being used, and I'd let her off the leash. And that's how good she was, and that's how much I trusted her, and she trusted me. I let her off the leash, and she'd run. And she'd go just far enough where I was uncomfortable where she was, and I'd go, Winter! And she'd come running back. She never left my side. I taught her how to play fetch. Like, we just really learned a lot from each other. And, so, I've had days where, like, my depression really hit me and it was really bad. And I just order Chinese food and, like, want to lay in bed and do nothing. And she would just lay there with me. Literally, I have a picture of me laying down on my bed. I'll put it on my Twitter. If anybody has my Twitter. I'll link my Twitter down below if you don't. But I have a picture of me laying in bed. And her just, like, her head was here and she was just laying with me like this. And I just put, we refuse to leave the bed today. Like, we ain't going nowhere. But guess what? I got my girl with me, so I'm good. We chilling. We watching movies. We gonna go outside. She made me go outside and, like, go for a walk, you know, just me and her, because I had to take care of her. That's what she liked to do. So it forced me to get out of my hole and my depression to make her happy and to focus on something other than my misery, you know, my feeling sorry for myself. You know, I had to do things for her. And it helped me so much. And that's why I like Trisha Paytas, when I hear her, the stuff that she goes through, I'm like, get a dog. I know she hates dogs, but to just have something to focus on other than yourself, it just really helps. It helps so much. Winter, I had, so just to say, like, her anxiety also, like, me and my sister, we're sitting outside on my sister's front porch one day, and the dogs were inside, and we were sitting there, and we were, like, smoking a cigarette or something, and the door, like, the glass door was closing, and you know how the glass doors go tss, and then they close? It was funny, but it wasn't. It just to explain how much anxiety this dog had. It was funny at the time because we were like, "Oh my gosh!" But it was sad. It was very sad. This thing's 20 minutes long. I'm sorry, this is gonna be a long video because yeah. She's watching the door like this, and it's going, and she's literally like, and then all of a sudden it closed, and she was like, you know, she jumped because the closing of it, like she was like, like listening to it, and then it closed, and she was like freaking out. And it was funny to see her like go like this, but then, you know, it really was sad that the dog was suffering, and it's like, what do you do for that? You know, like, it wasn't like she was having anxiety attacks during storms where I can, like, medicate her. You know, I know some animals during thunderstorms or fireworks, you know, they can get, I don't know, I think they prescribe them actually, like, Xanax, like doggy Xanax or something, to, like, calm them down. This was her every day. Like, if she was just with me or we were just home, she was fine. But if we went or did, like, or somebody came over the house, like, this was her every single day. Like, I could not, how am I going to medicate her every day? Like, can't. So me and my boyfriend decide to go camping for the weekend in Lake George. And I wanted to bring the dog, but we wanted to go hiking. And I didn't want to bring her on. I had bought her on, like, a small hiking trip. It was, like, 3 miles. But we wanted to, like, go up the mountain. And she was still a puppy. And I didn't want to drag her all the way up there. I was kind of nervous to bring her. Because I didn't know if she could last for that long hiking. And, you know, I obviously couldn't leave her at the campsite myself. So I asked my aunt to watch her. And my aunt has dogs, so, you know, I watched her dog. She, you know, and she was like, oh, that's fine. She knew Winter. Winter knew her dogs. It was okay. So I dropped her off at her house. And that day, it was really weird. Like, stop that. Sorry. That day was really weird. It was like almost all these signs were telling us not to go. Like, my boyfriend slept in really, really late because he wasn't feeling that good. And I was like, well, it's too late to go now. And then we were like, all right, well, let's just go up there. And then, like, we were dropping the dog off at my uncle's, at my aunt and uncle's house. And my uncle I didn't know if he was home. He wasn't picking up his phone. So I was like, well, you know what? Let's just drive over there. If he's there, we'll drop her off. If he's not, we'll just bring her with us. And, like, I wish so bad that he wasn't home. Like, now looking back, hindsight, you know. But he was home. So we dropped her off. And we left. And we were up camping for a little while. And I get a phone call, a couple hours. And my sister is hysterically crying. And she tells me Winter has died. And I'm like, what do you mean she died? She said she got out of the house and they were trying to chase her in the car and she wouldn't come to anyone because she was scared of everyone. And get down. Come on, get down. Little turd. Sorry. I'm sorry this video's so long. But she got hit by a car and she died. So I lost my shit. I screamed and cried. I think everyone at that campground thought I was insane. And I just was chain smoking cigarettes because at the time I smoked. And I lost my mind. Me and my boyfriend packed our stuff up. We were just there for like 2 hours, and we left. And I went home, and the whole way home, I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And I couldn't believe it. I've had a lot of loss in my life, and a lot of almost losses, like people, like, not sure if they're gonna make it or not. And I just couldn't believe that again, something I loved so much was taken from me again. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, this is so long. So, I got to my aunt's house, and, my aunt's hysterical, and she's like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, listen, it's not like she let my dog out on purpose. It's not like, she, did it on purpose. It was an accident, she got home from work and then opened the door and the dog flew out, and Winter was fast. She was fast, and she just ran out, and they tried to get her, and she wouldn't come to them because she was scared. So I was over there, and then I went home. I couldn't stay there. They wanted me to stay there and hang out, and I was like, I can't, because I'm the type of person that when I know someone is upset, like my aunt was so upset and crying, I stay strong for that person. I don't cry. I don't let my emotions get to me. I have to be strong for that person. So I just hold everything back, and I'm like, no, it's fine, but I needed to let my emotions out. I needed to grieve. I couldn't stay there because I knew I was gonna not feel what I needed to feel and go through what I needed to go through. So, I went home and I walked in the door. My boyfriend stayed in the car for a minute. I think he needed just because this was his dog too. He was so upset. I walked in the house and I actually have, it's kind of sick. Oh God, this video was so long. I'm sorry. But this was her toy. It stays on my shelf. This was her toy that I had given. My boyfriend gave this to me for Valentine's Day, and I had, she played with it, so I had given it to her to play with. And this was on the ground, and I just picked it up, and I just was screaming, crying. I lost my mind. I felt like my world was over. It was really, 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 really bad. And I mean, this is a dog, and I hear people say these stories, and I'm like, they're crazy. This is just a dog, but she was my world, It was just me and her. So I had that, and then little by little, I decided, after that, I have a picture of her. I'll show you her pictures. This was Winter. Her name was Winter Marie, and we called her Winnie or Win, or Winnie Win. I used to sing her songs. And then this was her when she was a puppy. This is actually goes on my makeup table. It's kind of dusty, sorry. I have a picture of her and my boyfriend on my makeup table. And then I have a picture of my other dogs over there on the end table. That was her. And then this was a bandana my sister gave her. My sister made this bandana for her. And she had one for her dog too, so they would match, and they were so cute. So that was her bandana. And before she had passed, my cousin's girlfriend